This was a channel-suggested video. That we look at Injustice 3. I talked to Ed Boon, personally. The dude in charge of Mortal Kombat and NetherRealm, and he told me that all these characters will be in the game. Ed, please don't sue me. That was a joke. I have not talked to Ed Boon at all. I don't even know the man.
Well, now you're a liar.
The closest I got was throwing a paper airplane at him in a convention with my ideas for Injustice 3. I was aptly tackled by security and dragged out.
Yeah, I watched.
So
I didn't help at all.
That's the closest I've gotten to Ed.
I was happy to watch.
But hey, these are our ideas for 5 heroes, or villains, or characters that should appear in Injustice 3.
One of those 3.
Yeah, and really just any character.
Yes.
So the first one we have is actually John Constantine. This was your idea, so why don't you tell me why you like this idea? No, I just want to know, because I agree with it, but you brought it up.
Yes, yeah. The reason it came to mind is I watched Justice League Dark.
Okay.
Was the reason it came to mind right away.
So you're a pleb. You just watch the animated movies. You don't find your characters from the comics.
That's correct. Yeah, real pleb, a borderline simp, if you will.
That's fair.
Yeah. So here we are, and I've chosen John Constantine as mine, and I really think that he would be a fun character. And kind of a deviation from what we've seen a lot of in the Injustice games, just in a way that he would use like magic, and that'd be kind of like Raven, I guess, a little bit that we saw in Injustice 1.
I would say the closest we've seen to this would either be Zatanna or Dr. Fate.
Oh, sure,
honestly.
yeah,
but he is different than both of them.
Yeah, and I think that with those characters being done before, bringing in his kind of like witty, kind of fun personality, and the character itself is got some like I feel like there'd be a lot of really cool opportunities for like a super that would just be outrageous with John Constantine, like in the magic realm. But I feel like it'd be a really fun choice for Injustice 3.
Well, there's a lot to get into about him too, but I want to keep it simple. I mean, John borrows a lot of his powers from other sources, so there's a lot you could go into with that in terms of him, like really kind of being the smooth-talking swindler of the magic side of the DC universe, both in the comics and in the films. He's basically a character that would really benefit from being included in the story, I think. Not that you couldn't have a fun moveset with him, but I think it would really flesh out the character to have him interacting with the other ones. I wouldn't throw him in as a DLC, after the fact. I would have him actually be partially front and center as a supporting character in the story, and then work the magic into the gameplay, but that will add all that charm. I think you'd kind of lose that if you just jammed him in as a post-game
like as a DLC character.
Yeah, because then you don't get any of like the story bits and like the interactions and stuff nearly as much.
And that's when the character's at his best. So I think you're right. I think that's the best way to look at it, is when you give him a fair bit of dialogue and give him maybe a decent point or a decent amount of work in the central plot. I think that would probably be when the character's at his best.
So our next one's actually Plastic Man.
Correct.
This is an interesting idea because this is very much a comic relief character, but also one that has had important parts in DC Comics, especially in, I reference it a lot, but in Dark Knight's Metal, he's like a pivotal character in that story. He hasn't really made as many appearances in animated things, actually. Like, they avoided him when they did the Justice League show, like the original. He wasn't one of the core members, so like he's just kind of a character that a lot of people haven't been exposed to outside of the comics, but he would be neat to see. And he has like unlimited move possibilities. I mean, he does crazy stuff in the comics. Like, for example, when he's fighting I think it's Queen Bee, way back before the New 52, he turns into a can of bug spray and sprays bug spray on it. Just stuff like that. Like, he's just funny, or he'll turn into a toilet and flush an enemy down the toilet.
Right.
Or just insane stuff like that.
He is. It's really just a matter of creativity with him. You can do anything with him. And I think the reason that he came to mind is because I've used him a fair amount in like the Lego games, is where I've seen him, like Lego DC Supervillains or Lego Batman 3. Lego Batman 3 was where he was used a lot, I guess. Is like you had to use him to get the red bricks. But anyways, I think that his combat style, like you said, would be like a really fun and enjoyable way to use someone, especially with like his length attacks could just be him shooting his arm out across the entire map, or you could have, like all of these, like his super could just be this outrageous thing where he flies someone up and then is like shooting them on the way down or something.
Well, that's the thing, is like he could like turn into a helicopter, drag them up into the air, and then like turn into like a jet and slam into them or something.
Yes, yeah.
He's just weird and crazy.
And it'd be a really fun. I feel like would be a fun DLC character.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know how much he would fit into the story. Might be a little odd if you did that, but as a DLC character, he's certainly someone that'd be fun to like play with and actually mess around in the player versus player or even player versus AI modes.
Oh, for sure. I agree.
So our next one's actually Huntress. This is an interesting one because Huntress has sort of become this, I don't want to say legacy character or mantle character, but there's been more than one Huntress. The one I always think of is like Helena Bertinelli, I believe, from the actual DCAU. That's the one I always think of.
And then she also showed up in Arrow briefly, just a heads up. That was actually when the show was still, in my opinion, still okay, like still doing pretty well, and that was actually a pretty decent character arc.
Oh, this was before Oliver becomes the mayor and has like a whole episode about his beliefs in weapon control.
That's correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just before that. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, then you're doing okay then.
Yeah, you're still
flying under the radar.
Yeah.
Yeah, Huntress is really interesting because she has a lot of different skill sets available to her. She's very hand to hand, like Batman or Robin or Nightwing, like one of these non-powered superheroes. The sky's the limit in terms of cosmetics with her, and I think the hand to hand combat aspect of it. It does leave it more open because it's not abilities. This is just like, what do you want her fighting style to be?
That's really what it is. You could even go a direction. I mean, that's kind of what like Black Canary was in the most recent one, where it's just kind of you customize the way that she fights, the way that you think the character would fight, or that you've maybe seen in the comics or shows like that. And then you kind of that. I feel like NetherRealm does a really good job with those hand-to-hand characters. I mean, they always have. So this I feel like would be an easy, seamless character to bring in. And like you said, there's a lot of different options with costumes, and I don't know if this character would necessarily fit into a like story. Maybe
it depends.
Depends. You could.
Well, and so here's the thing I do want to say with this, by the way, too. I should have thrown this at the beginning. We're not really looking at whether these characters, like where they're at in the Injustice universe right now, because we could, but it doesn't really matter. And the reason for that is that they brought Green Arrow back into the Injustice universe after his death, by pulling him over from another universe in the comics. You don't need a justification for this.
I think they did the same thing with Joker in the first like game, didn't they?
Yeah,
like,
he was dead, and then they brought Prime Joker over to the new universe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like that's the thing is like you don't need justifications for these characters being here.
Not at all.
Because you will. I am sure there will be comments like, well, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Plastic Man died in issue 12 of the Injustice Year 2 comic where he got ripped in half by Superman and then beaten into oblivion by a helicopter and then thrown into a ditch. I don't know. You know, like I'll see comments like that about like a character.
You're a dark man.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you know, you'll just see something like that about these characters because I have not read all the Injustice comics. I've read bits and pieces.
Yeah.
It's something I'd like to get into, but that I do want to throw that in there as a disclaimer that let's say Huntress is dead, doesn't matter.
Right.
At all.
Yeah. It's kind of just free reign, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So here we're going to get into some weird ones. I brought up this as an idea, I believe, in our Injustice 2 playthrough of, like, I wish these characters were in here.
I feel like we talked about it before, yeah.
Briefly.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a little bit of pushback to that of, like, oh, maybe they don't belong here. But with something like Doomsday Clock having come out and been pretty successful compared to other comic sales at the time, and the, you know, just the resurgence now this is the best-selling graphic novel of all time, some of the Watchmen characters. So, like, the first one we'll look at is Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
This is a character that would be hard to incorporate because he's, like, insanely powerful. The dude can just, at a thought, blast someone apart at the subatomic level.
Oh, yeah.
So you would need to find a way to, like, equalize Dr. Manhattan a little bit to put him in here. But we've seen that before, where we've seen buffs and nerfs. I mean, Batman's going up against Superman in hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
In these, you know.
Right.
Harley Quinn is taking on Supergirl. You know, they can come up with the reasoning like the Kryptonian pills from the first game.
Yeah.
Or they don't even have to. Like, this is just dumb fun.
You're just having fun. And that was Injustice. It's like you would have, even throughout the games, like you never really had an Injustice 2 or the first one, where you'd have like a fight of, you know, Black Adam versus Green Arrow or something, you know what I mean? Like, where realistically, that's going to be horrible. But like it's you're just playing, and they understand that, and they know the game.
Yeah, and so the fight would come up. You would technically like get in a fight like that, but it wouldn't really matter.
No, it wouldn't matter. And I think Dr. Manhattan would be really fun because, like you said, Doomsday Clock was really successful, and it's obviously the best-selling graphic novel of all time. So if
Watchmen, the original.
Yeah, for Watchmen. Sorry, but yeah, if you brought him in, I think that would be an actually really fun change because in Injustice 2 you had the villain as Brainiac.
Yeah.
You even up the stakes even more from going from bad Superman Brainiac now to potentially Dr. Manhattan is maybe the bad guy.
Oh, so you're saying you kind of like do a little bit, I'm not going to say anything about Doomsday Clock storyline, but this idea of like Dr. Manhattan manipulating things behind the scenes,
yes,
or checking out this version of the multiverse and like how that ties into it.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly could do something like that. Yeah. Or you could even have him be a passive observer of like the main plot.
Yeah.
And have him like sort of come in the end. Maybe and intervene or not,
or maybe he's like the big final boss in some capacity. Yeah, he'd be a really fun character to have involved in the story. I think that he's like this obviously insanely powerful person that either have in the background or as a main villain would, I think, add a lot to an Injustice 3 story.
And obviously we're not game balancers. There would need to be some steps taken to balance Dr. Manhattan, like we said, to nerf him. Obviously, you know, he's like able to teleport. He's able to split himself into multiple versions of himself. You know, the dude's like basically immortal.
His super move would be unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly.
Just thinking of what they've done in the past, this would be ridiculous.
So that's the thing. So you'd have to do that, but like overall, we would definitely like to see him.
Yeah.
The final one that we want to see the most is another Watchmen character. It's actually Rorschach. This is one of my favorite characters in comics ever. The original Rorschach. He's great.
He's fantastic. He's
Walter Kovacs, what can you say about him? Yeah, it's like he's powerful, but he's not. He's just a guy.
Yeah.
But he gets in all these fights, and he basically always wins, unless it's just insane numbers against him.
Right. He's basically Batman, but like...
Of Watchmen?
Yeah, of Watchmen, basically. Yeah. But like, angrier.
And more like, dysfunctional, crazier. Yeah.
Yeah. A little more, I guess, is crude the good word?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, he's gross. He's a gross character.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the dude shows up, he's eating cold baked beans out of a can. You know, in Dan's house. Yeah. So there's a lot of weird stuff with Rorschach. I mean, he basically would have a really cool... You could do a lot of cool stuff with him, too. Like, I mean, he sort of hides in broad daylight as, like, a homeless guy in The Watchmen, in both the movie and in the comics. So you could kind of have something like that, where, like, maybe he's walking by, like, with an end is nigh, like, sign, and then he, like, walks into an alley and he comes out in, like, the Watchmen. The Watchmen-esque Rorschach get-up. You could have something like that. You could have him basically have, like, a changing face the entire match, where it, like, just is animated and, like, the black parts of the Rorschach mask move. Really, again, it just comes down to combat style for how he would fight, because this is, again, not a powered superhero.
No, I feel like you'd want to make him more of a, I guess, violent version of Batman's combat, I guess is the way that I would look at it.
Like, he will use physical weaponry. You could do stuff like that. You could also really sort of go in the Mortal Kombat-esque style, because we've seen Sub-Zero, we've seen Scorpion. There are more brutal characters in these games.
Yeah.
They don't do, like, the full fatalities, but it's definitely implied there.
Oh, yeah, even with Joker. Joker had some pretty gnarly stuff, too. So, yeah, I think that having that element of violence with him would be really fun. I think that his actor in the movie was great, and having someone to voice him like that, where he's kind of like a very angry, aggressive talking person, too. I think that'd be a really fun addition to it as well.
And I think he would definitely fit in if you did what you said, where you have, like, Dr. Manhattan as sort of one of the key characters in the game. If you had, like, maybe Rorschach, maybe even you have, like, Silk Spectre or a couple other characters in here as well that sort of cross over with Manhattan. There's a lot you could do with that, and expanding on the idea of the multiverse in Injustice, because we've already seen it exist. You know, characters have come over from other versions of Earth in that universe. Yeah. So there's a lot you could do there, I think. That would be awesome.
There really is. It's a ton.
So, hey, let us know what you think in the comments down below. Would you like to see any of these characters, all of these characters, or maybe none of these characters? They're all terrible ideas, and you'll definitely let us know why with an expletive-filled comment. Please don't. Please clap. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out the Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, Discord, Reddit. We've got everything up. Dude, we are filling this channel. We're packing it in, bro. Ooh, I'm excited to see you there. Have a great one. Good night.